Sending a message to the other side of the world requires a fraction of a second and a single tap on a piece of glass. But if you travel far enough into the extremities of the Indian subcontinent, you eventually drop off the digital map. Up in the frozen peaks of Ladakh, tiny human settlements exist entirely cut off from cellular signals. This isolation dictates life for the riverine communities navigating the waters of the Northeast and the scattered island territories of Lakshadweep. These are places that sit stubbornly beyond the grid, sometimes a full 120 kilometers beyond the last operational train tracks and 50 kilometers past the final standing telephone pole. Yet millions of citizens live in these remote oases of humanity. To survive, they require a reliable physical connection to the outside world. That connection takes the form of a single person. This is where the pavement directionlessly crumbles into soft sand, and where the footprints of Ketaram begin. He is a Gramin Dak Sewaks, a rural postal worker. To deliver the mail across the Thar Desert, Ketaram walks up to 20 kilometers a day. His left shoulder is permanently slumped from years of carrying a canvas mail bag that regulations allow to weigh up to 28 kilos. He makes these treks even when the summer sand sizzles beneath his leather shoes. He works on days when the temperature reaches 49.9 degrees Celsius, because hitting an official 50 degrees would trigger a mandatory state holiday. His route covers far-flung hamlets in an extremely sensitive zone, pushing out to villages located just 2.5 kilometers short of the Indo-Pakistan border. Where heavy machinery, asphalt, and fiber optic cables fail, Ketaram's physical endurance provides the sole link between the state and its most remote citizens. Ketaram's daily march across the desert is one node in a massive nationwide network. Before independence, the British established the postal system primarily to relay administrative communications between corporate centers. After 1947, India Post adopted a different mandate: to physically bring the entire independent population into the mailing system. This chart illustrates the sheer scale of that ambition today. India relies on over 300,000 Gramin Dak Sewaks. They operate out of rural outposts and make up more than 50% of the entire India Post workforce. This army of walkers and cyclists is the deliberate architecture of a system determined to ensure no citizen is left totally unconnected. To maintain a workforce this large in such sparse areas, the job is structured with highly specific rules. A Gramin Dak Sewak works only 5 hours a day, but they must already have access to another means of livelihood to be hired. For Ketaram, that alternative livelihood is farming a single crop of bajra, or pearl millet. In the Thar Desert, where drought is a constant brut, the crop alone cannot feed his family of 5. The government successfully operates remote branch post offices at a reasonable cost, while workers like Ketaram earn an assured, steady income that prevents starvation during dry years. Inside Ketaram's 28-kilo bag are money orders, small sums of cash sent back home by relatives working in distant cities. For families living in this arid landscape, these remittances pay for the grain and water necessary to survive when the crops fail. In villages with low literacy, Ketaram acts as a scribe, lingering on doorsteps to read letters aloud and drafting replies in his own slightly shaky handwriting. This intimacy earns him respect from every corner of the frontier. Border security force soldiers offer him tea when he drops off their mail, and local villagers offer pieces of jaggery when he brings news of a birth or a wedding. Rural populations regularly entrust their monthly savings to local branch post offices, maintaining operational accounts that reflect the confidence they place in the system. In a geography nearly devoid of banks, clinics, or schools, the postman becomes the central civic and social anchor for an entire community. But there is one specific item Ketaram dreads delivering. It's an envelope with the top right corner deliberately torn off. In this region, a torn envelope signifies a shubh samachar, news of a death. Local custom dictates that bad news must never be carried into the physical home, so Ketaram enacts a quiet ritual. He stands completely outside the home, reads the letter aloud to the family twice, and then tears the paper to bits, ensuring the news is destroyed before it can enter the household. After 15 years of bearing both cash and grief across the sand, Ketaram says his spine is still strong. He is currently waiting for phone towers to reach his territory. When they do, he is ready to become a Gramin Dak Sewaks, carrying a cell phone door to door to deliver digital messages. Until those towers arrive, the edges of the map will continue to be held together by people like Ketaram. In these extreme environments, the link between the state and its citizens is forged by physical endurance and the simple act of showing up.